Hello, folks, and thank you again for joining us for our 80th birthday celebration and these videos that we are releasing for you, and to watch our cannon demonstration. So here we have our artillery crew and the jovial nature that they are always in, and first thing they're going to do is search the piece. So we actually have two people that are moving to their positions on the gun. The one in the back will actually prick the vent or to check the vent to see if there is anything back there, if there's anything at the back of the tube. And then the person at the front who has a tool that looks like a long pole that has on the end of it a corkscrew or a worm is going to search the piece, again looking for anything that might be left over from a previous shot. And then the person at the back now tends the vent, puts their thumb over the vent to keep any oxygen out. Now they've manned out the piece, so the rest of our crew moves on to their spots on the gun. You see there's someone in the back with a pole that has slow match, or match that burns slowly, that they light, and then someone who moved up to the front to have their sponge as well as rammer that will come in handy here in a moment. They've searched the piece again, and now they've advanced the sponge. So they wet the sponge and they put it down the tube with the idea that if there are any sparks left, they would be extinguishing those with the water that is on that sponge, pulling that then out. And then what's next is they're going to handle and advance the cartridge. At that point, the person at the front hands that worm over to who we see here in the back. And off screen, there is someone right now handling the cartridge or the cannonball and gunpowder that they bring to the front, and that's going to be wrapped up in a packet or a bag that they then push to the back of the tube by advancing the rammer and ramming down the cartridge the whole way to the back of the tube. Next, the order would be to prick and prime. At that point, the person who's been tending the vent now takes that prick out again, and when they push it down the vent, they should feel that gunpowder that's there, establishing the charge, so whenever they put on a quill, they'll be able to ignite that. And then you hear the order to prepare to and fire. So the slow match, you see she's blowing on that with the idea that it gets a nice hot ember, and then when the order is to fire, they would touch it off, and boom! You get your large fired cannon. Now this was a dry run, so we are now going through the process of not only securing the piece, making it safe, but then we will do the live run. So they search the piece, put down that worm again, looking for anything that's left, advance the sponge, and sponge the piece again. Once they have done this, the idea will be now we are going to bring forward a live charge and fire this off. Now keep in mind, folks, this is a 6-pound cannon that we have here. This was going to be used on the expedition against Fort Duquesne with the idea that when this cannon gets outside of Fort Duquesne, it's going to hopefully lay siege to it and allow for the success of the taking of the Forks of the Ohio. So now our crew is getting ready to live fire the piece. We're tending the vent. We're lighting our lint stock there. And because we're not in 1758 anymore, we're not necessarily using a lantern or anything like that. We're using a lovely Bic lighter to then be able to fire this off with our slow match that is there. And it looks like we have a hot ember for the most part. And as you go along, you start to notice that you might have to blow on it, you might have to relight it, but now we're going through that process of firing. So they'll search the piece, they'll advance the sponge, and they'll sponge the piece. And I'm going to let you listen to the rest, so that way, whenever the boom does come, you folks can enjoy it.
Sponge, handle cartridge! Ram down cartridge! Cartridge ram. Prick and prime.
Pricked and primed.
Prepare to fire! Charge the piece!
So how awesome was that? It's always amazing when you can hear these and give you a little bit of a sense of what some of those artillery barrages, cannon firings, and whatnot of the 1700s sounded like. Now, these artillery pieces, while they were meant to lay siege to Fort Duquesne, they would never have to. Instead, they would be used on October 12th of 1758, but when General Forbes made his final push, instead of having to utilize the artillery and quite possibly remain outside of Fort Duquesne and blow it to bits, they would find that the fort had been burned to the ground by the French, and they had vacated, but would allow for the successful now claiming of the Forks of the Ohio. So here's our wonderful artillery crew. And look, there's me. Hi, everybody. But thank you again for watching this. We greatly appreciate all of you, and we hope to see you down here at the fort.